Your gut has 30 trillion employees, and who's in charge? You are. You are the CEO, and you need to act like the CEO for your gut. So we've got lots of bacteria in our gut, about 3 pounds of bacteria, 500 to 1,000 different species. They entirely populate your gut, and they are a workforce that can improve your health tremendously if they are the right employees. So we can have good guys down there doing all kinds of good things to help not only our gut but our whole body, including the brain. Or we can have bad guys down there that are breaking things, wrecking things, and destroying your health. The good bacteria in your gut digest food, regulate immunity and mood, and make vitamins. Vitamins like K2 and B2 that help regulate your metabolism and immunity. Now, if you got the bad guys down there working, they are going to cause gut dysfunction. And what does that mean? Well, if you're a business, that ends up being business failure. And for your health, it ends up being chronic disease. So you have the CEO role in maintaining good gut health. And here's the good news. There's only 3 metrics that you need to stay on top of: gut integrity, inflammation, and dysbiosis. And I want to talk about all 3 of those things. I want you to learn to manage this complex system. So your body has 7 different systems, and we're going to talk about the digestive system in this video. And your microbiome is a huge part of your digestive health. If all these systems are working correctly, you're going to have great health. But if the digestive system is not working correctly, it can take you down and take your health down. So let's look at these 3 metrics that you need to manage. The first is corporate infrastructure. That means intestinal integrity, or not having leaky gut. The microbiome is a very highly competitive place for its residents, and the bacteria are constantly turning over. The outer shells of harmful bacteria contain something called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS. It's also known as an endotoxin, so it's very harmful for you. When these bad bacteria die and disintegrate, LPS is released, and that LPS acts like a battering ram, opening up gaps between the cells so that harmful things get into your intestinal tract, increasing leaky gut even more. And the bad news is, as we age, we all tend to have more leaky gut. So it's extra important to be doing the right things as we age. We want to prevent leaky gut. That's number 1. Number 2 is crisis management. That is inflammation. So in this diagram of the gut, you'll see gut lymph tissue right here. 70% of your immune system, your defense system, is right here in your gut. And if you have leaky gut, and if you've got the endotoxins and LPS, it activates that gut lymph tissue, it activates your immune system, and it starts attacking all parts of your body using these inflammatory molecules. Chronic inflammation equals increased disease. Almost all disease has a common factor in inflammation, and we've got to keep inflammation down, and you will not unless you keep your gut healthy. A healthy gut can neutralize that LPS that's released from bad bacteria until it's removed if your gut is healthy. Another reason to keep your gut healthy. Chronic inflammation has been called inflammaging. Means you're going to age a lot quicker if you have chronic inflammation. It's triggered by this immune response to a leaky gut. Good microbes are anaerobic. What's that mean? It means they live in a place without oxygen, and that's the way your intestinal tract should be. But the bad bacteria in your gut produce oxygen. Antibiotics, if you take them, reduce the good bacteria that produce a healthy substance called butyrate, which lowers oxygen. So we want to try to avoid antibiotics in every form. And when good bacteria decrease, guess what happens? The bad bacteria take over. And bacteria that produce butyrate need one key thing to survive and to stay healthy, and that is fiber. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. One other thing I want to mention is if you eat a lot of meat, which we do not recommend on the 7 Systems Plan, then your gut makes something called TMA from choline and carotene in meat. And what does that do? That TMA leaks into the bloodstream through those gaps, and when that TMA gets to the liver, it turns it into TMO, which has been linked to heart disease. So you can see your gut is connected with all parts of your body, not just your digestive system. So the key is to heal the gut up. Keep that gut integrity down, get rid of leaky gut, get the good bacteria in there so that things can thrive. The third thing to manage is dysbiosis, which is those bad bacteria in the gut. So I want to give you a 2-point strategy for turning the things around. And the first thing you have to do as the CEO is overhaul the payroll system. We want a high fiber diet. The second thing we can do is implement a corporate wellness program that is exercise, because exercise increases the diversity and the number of bacteria you have in your gut. So here's your workforce that's in your gut right now. You got the A team, the star performers. They produce short chain fatty acids, which are very helpful for you. They strengthen the infrastructure, and one of the main ones is Akkermansia. I think Akkermansia is the best probiotic you can be on. The saboteurs, what do? They produce those endotoxins we talked about, and they drive inflammaging. So we want to keep the proteobacteria and the bad ones down. So what's your payroll strategy? How are we going to get the right balance of bacteria in our gut? We got to pay the A team a lot. The more they get paid, the more they thrive. And what do they need for pay? A diverse plant fibers. We want to get a lot of different kinds of fiber in our diet. And polyphenols, that's what gives fruits and vegetables their colors. We want a good variety of that. And then prebiotic foods like fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grain. That's the payroll for the A team. Now you want to pay the saboteurs, then you add sugar. Saboteurs, the bad guys, like sugar. They like ultra processed food, and they don't want fiber because that's going to feed these guys. And the average American diet is low in fiber, high in processed food, and high in sugar. So they're constantly feeding the bad guys. What are the possible results from doing what we just talked about? Well, you can have a resilient, profitable company. That means lots of short-chain fatty acids produced, a strong gut barrier, low inflammation, and metabolic health if you feed the good guys. And if you're feeding the bad guys, we're going to have high LPS leakage, leaky gut, chronic inflammation, and increased chronic disease risk. Microbes in the gut help each other thrive. So we need a good diversity of bacteria in our gut. That's why I suggest people use a probiotic that has multiple bacteria in it, and also fermented foods, which I think should be a daily part of your routine. Corporate health equals optimal gut health and gut function, and that's what we want. So pay your best employees well, and the only paycheck that does anything for them is fiber. So we need lots of fiber in there. And then keep the workforce healthy by doing some exercise. Exercise increases diversity, as I mentioned, and it also increases short-chain fatty acid production. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Feed your workforce daily, a variety of foods, and fiber is the big thing that I want you to focus on. If we eat lots of fiber, lots of fruits and vegetables, they get digested, but fiber is not digested. So it goes clear down to the colon where the majority of your bacteria thrive, and that fiber ferments with the bacteria and produces the short-chain fatty acids that improve your gut health tremendously improve the integrity of your intestinal walls. But that's not all. They get into the circulation and decrease your risk of chronic disease significantly. However, if you're the average American and you're not eating much fiber, you're eating processed food, there's nothing that gets down to the colon, and your good bacteria starve and the bad bacteria take over. So if you want to look at the hallmark of gut health, it would be a strong barrier and lots of short-chain fatty acids being produced. And there are a number of bacteria that help with that, and Akkermansia is at the top of the list. And do you got to be perfect with your diet? No. 90% consistent habits makes room for some indulgences. So we want to do good most of the time. So if you are the CEO of your gut, what should you do? I think you should do a payroll audit. For 3 days, write down everything you eat and drink and record it. And then ask, who am I paying with this? And determine if you're paying the star performers or the troublemakers. So an example, oatmeal, berries, nuts, and seeds for breakfast, you're paying the star performers. Chicken McNuggets and French fries, you're paying the saboteurs, the troublemakers. Salmon and roasted broccoli, you're paying the star performers. Ice cream is a paycheck for the troublemakers, as is fast food. It leads to complicated employees. So we want to eat more oatmeal, berries, and good fruits and vegetables. I want you to treat your gut like a thriving company, pay them well, and your gut will thank you for that. So let me give you some action steps. Load up on the fiber. At least 35 grams of fiber a day, more is better. Cut down on the processed food. Use kefir and other fermented foods regularly. Have some probiotics in your diet, as the Akkermansia Plus is the best one I've found. Blueberries, herbs, vegetables, and fruits. And then increase things even more for the good guys by doing some exercise. If you want to have more helpful tips, check out 7systemsplan.com.